Episode 11, The Last Day of Astrea. The Pit. It was the first time the Archangel had touched the abyss. It was barely perceptible touch, but it was enough to completely take hold of him for a moment. Its ancientness, boundlessness, secrets, they were far more captivating than its darkness. The immortal only came to senses when the abyss spat them into the pit, and its quiet, alluring whisper turned into a wild roar of countless souls. A sudden, horrible pain pierced his body. Voices soaked in despair, cracked, broken, desperate to be heard. The sounds overlapped. There was no way to discern a single one. They had merged into a horrible catacomb. Hey, are you all right? The demon brushed off a pit dweller and limped towards the others. Is this some kind of joke? Where are we? This is the pit. The inhabitants of this place did not attack Raphael, but they huddled closer as if hoping to touch him. They would reach for the angel with trembling hands the moment he looked away. Why the hell did he throw us down here? He wants to buy time. He could have just killed us, bought himself all the time in this damned world. All the Astreans were alive, but this news brought him no relief. We need to get out. Can you recover on your own, or do you need help? David answered for everyone. We broke a few bones, but it's no big deal. They'll heal now. But Malik's hospitality leaves much to be desired, of course. They could have dropped us a little more gently. I guess we're heading up. They all lifted their heads in unison, but unsurprisingly they saw no light. If there was a way out of the pit, it was very high up. Raphael stepped away from an overly persistent member of the dead who had grabbed his feathers. The more the immortals resisted, the bolder the souls of the dead became. Their faces were twisted in horror as they flickered dangerously close. Their torn mouths began to repeat the same words, allowing the Astreans to finally grasp the meaning of their lamentations. Living help us. Free us. Free us. Black and decomposed, they advanced more bravely. The walls were made of their bodies, piled on top of one another. They began to stir and collapse to the floor by the hundreds. The pit was coming alive. It pulsed, pressing down on the living in an attempt to consume them. Stay close to me. The angel released only a small amount of power, but it was enough to make the dead hiss and recoil. A feminine figure shrieked in a high, piercing voice. Where is your mercy, O Lord? An eternity has passed, and my flesh still burns without turning to ash. There's nothing but pain inside. David popped his dislocated shoulder back into place and cracked his neck. Are you ready? Their bodies still ached from the impact, but their broken bones had healed, and their wounds had closed. They spread their wings in unison. Try to keep away from the walls. Archangel flew up first. The rest followed in an uneven formation. They didn't get to fly for long. After a few minutes, the passageway became too narrow for them to spread their wings. In order to keep going, they had to crawl. The fingers kept slipping on the slime-covered walls. They had to dig their hands in knuckle-deep just to keep their grip. Dig their hands into mouths, eye sockets, into decomposed, rotting flesh. This bitch bit me. David jerked his hand back and tossed down a torn-off jaw, annoyed. Cassiel was crawling below him and grimaced in disgust. No wonder Malik escaped to the world of the living. Yeah, I can totally see that bastard being thrilled by solid walls without eyes or teeth. Even a stool probably felt like a culture shock to him. Mikhail pressed his lips together irritably. I don't think distance is the only thing keeping us from freedom. The Archangel had suspected as much, but Raphael's words still irked him. Do you know something? Did Sheppa ever tell you about the pit? Sheppa told me very little. He even kept quiet about my own mother. But the old man must have told you something, surely. His precious firstborn daughter gave birth to such a charming little creature. Thanks to him, we're here now. Don't tell him, or tell me, he didn't mention that he'd become a grandpa. At first, Raphael was indignant at David's brazen phrasing, but his reaction was more out of habit. Now there was little left that could evoke any past reverence in the angel. All of Sheppa's words had taken a completely different contours. They were now wrapped in questions. He often spoke of the firstborns, but never of their children. Mostly he just reminded me of the high price of betrayal. Raphael became distracted and almost fell. He managed to grab a bony hand at the last moment. After catching his breath, continued. He often mentioned Lucina. Lucina from the legends about the catacomb? She's not a legend. She was the sister of Lucifer, the first immortal to die. Her brother doubted Sheppa's power. Such pure evil. It turned him into ash. Sheppa forbade Lucina from burying her brother in heaven, so she fled to hell with his ashes. And she dug a grave so deep that even Sheppa could not feel it. Must have taken her ages to dig it. There was also Chione. I think he loved her most of all. I could feel his anger when he spoke of her. He gave her Snowy Valley as a gift and locked her inside. He visited from time to time. So what went wrong? I don't know how she betrayed him. He didn't like talking about it. He locked Chionia in eyes. I think she's still conscious and waiting for him to release her. Raphael pressed his lips together as he remembered her for the first time. But Sheppa won't come for her now. Maybe we should have found her. Absolutely, Raphael. As soon as we get out. She'll be thrilled to be released just in time for the end of the world. Cassiel growled in annoyance. The dead souls clutched at his shoulders, holding him in place. Sometimes I heard him speaking to Tarneliel, but I never saw him. That angel was created to maintain balance. This is fascinating, but completely useless information for us. He spoke of many, David, but never of Abaddon, and I don't know why. Maybe, like your father, he didn't consider him a threat. Well, he didn't end up killing us. Yet. I see light. The relief gave the immortal strength. They began to climb faster. But along with the light came a strange sense of peace. It was wildly out of place, but impossible to brush off. Peace poured into their eyes, like a shimmering glow against a backdrop as black as the abyss itself. You can listen to the thoughts of all your characters. Your choices won't affect their relationships with them. Okay. Here goes almost 100 diamonds. Wow, I love the artwork. It's very pretty. Mikhail suddenly saw the faces of everyone who had died because of him, because of his decisions. All the immortals he had sent to their deaths for the greater good, dozens dead so that hundreds could live. His soldiers who believed in the order, believed in duty, just as he did. Believed in truth but never knew the whole of it. Their bloodied, mutilated bodies staggered, a question lingered forever in their glazed eyes. An entire graveyard that he carried with him. You had to die so others could live. Miguel had long stopped recognizing their faces. They had all blended into one. Their families, loved ones stood behind them. Hatred burned in their eyes. They hated him for the choices he'd made that didn't favor them. As always, you were wise. You can kill everyone. You can't save everyone. They know that, and they accepted their death long ago. They don't look at their children and their grandchildren and know that the world stands on their sacrifice, on their bone. The voices echoed in his mind and in the minds of all those who stood in front of him. And at last, they fell silent. The blood evaporated, their snarls vanished, the severed limbs returned to their places. Me, forgive you. Miguel raised his hands, and for the first time he didn't feel the stickiness of spilled blood on them. The curses of widows, the cries of orphaned children, fell silent. It was so peaceful. The Archangel smiled at this silence, and he longed to stay in it forever. And stay. David. Interesting. David saw Azrael, who had lost everything that made him a father. Deranged, embittered, he looked upon the world with hatred. He looked at his wife and sons with suspicion. Every morning David wondered when he'd be dragged to the chopping block. Who would die first? Him or his brother? Or maybe their grief-stricken mother? The voices in his head kept whispering, "Find us, save us, free us, and you will become greater. Hell, let us help. Let us fix Azrael's mistakes." The mistakes piled up, written in blood-red ink, they shaped the story of their kin. A cursed kin, hated by all, both their own people and the outsiders. Murderers who paved their way to the throne with corpses respected only by men, like his father. You are not your father. You are not the one they wanted to burn into the steep. You have nothing to avenge in this world. You have earned peace. The voices in his head fell silent. He had nothing more to offer. The image of his father faded. The bloody stream no longer licked his boots, and David felt a sense of wholeness and solitude. He had wanted for a long time to cut the threads that led him to hell, and now he longed to stay in this peace, where there was only him and no one else. Then stay. Cassiel saw his parents holding his sister's remains. He didn't have the strength to bury her in their homeland. He didn't have the strength to admit that he hadn't protected her, despite his promise to do so. He had cut himself over and over again with a sharp knife of guilt. He drank from his own pain, hoping to feel even a sliver of what she had felt. He picked at himself with a knife day and night, day and night. If he had just stayed in his kennel, she would still be alive. If he hadn't told her to step aside, she would still be alive. If he had died in their mother's womb, she would still be alive. It only hurt for a minute, Cass. Now I feel nothing, just a blessed emptiness. The feeling that she spoke of filled his insides, stitched his wounds. You spared her from the torments that gave us life. Her sleep is so peaceful, Cassiel. She dreams of you. And for the first time, he didn't feel the cuts bleeding within him. For the first time, his soul didn't ache. And that seemingly long forgotten feeling was unparalleled. He longed to sleep beside her, to stay in this quiet dream forever. And stay. Raphael. Wow, that's an image. Raphael saw Sheppa's face, leaning over him. He had been so small when God cut open his chest and poured a piece of himself inside. It burned, it was agonizingly painful, but God told him to endure it. And he endured it. Along with Sheppa's power, he sealed away all of his feelings, all of his dark thoughts, and he never dared to contradict Father. He wanted the only living being to come to him more often. For Father to save him from a hollow existence in solitude, in a paradise where there was no one and nothing. You no longer have to smother your feelings. Sheppa is gone. There is no one left to hate. There is no need to suffer. The whispering voice made an incision right along the wound in his heart, releasing his feelings. They passed through him and dissolved into the void. So agonizingly slow, so inevitable. They poured and poured out of him until there was nothing left inside. And that feeling of emptiness was unlike anything else. Raphael had dreamed of it his whole life. Now he longed to stay in it forever. And stay. The pit didn't need to hold their wings to slow them. It clung to their souls like tails, easily draining their strength. Surrendering was so easy. If only they had known that before. The darkness became a soft bed of feathers for them. There was no more blinding flashes of memory that covered everything in black. The silence became bliss. But a distant voice managed to break through that silence. An image that no darkness could hide because it was a light to them. A light they had sworn to protect. David, my beloved. Her light struck their eyes and scattered the darkness. Her voice tore through the veil of silence and let in the murmurs of the tormented dead. Their minds cleared again. They felt the touch of strangers' hands and the clinging tiny legs of insects on their bodies. They couldn't leave her. She believed in them, and she was waiting for them. There, on the ashes of their home. What the hell? Mikhail didn't draw attention to what had just happened, but he knew for certain that they had all experienced the same thing. Listen only to my voice. Ignore the whispers of this place. The exit is close. I can feel it. Just a little further. The human world. Audrey couldn't remember where she was or what had happened. Her own body felt foreign to her, uncooperative and numb. She felt a cool palm press against her forehead, then a firm voice pierced through what felt like a body of water. Audrey, wake up. The voice broke off, drowned out by the ringing in her ears. Someone brought a glass to her lips and helped her to sip. After greedily drinking half of the cup, Audrey began to cough. Don't choke, come to your senses. Her temples still throbbed, but her vision cleared. The immortal loomed over her. He didn't give her another second. He gripped her forearm with thin fingers. I knew you'd come back here. Do you have anywhere else to go? Audrey tried to focus on Somnus's red irises, but then he abruptly stood and broke eye contact. And again, maybe it's for the best. You might boost your colleagues' morale. Somnus? Get up. We have to go. Still clueless about where they were going or why, Audrey let herself be pulled to her feet. Here, this on and stop shivering. Audrey reached out and took the warm, heavy fabric obediently. Cute checks, emerald coat, light cloak, warm and stylish, blood red. I'll just go with cute checks. Continue. Somnus touched her hair. He smoothed the disheveled strands as if she were a child. Oh, but of course. I'm gonna go with longing and switch to something else. Continue. There, much better. Where are we going? What's happening? You fainted, but sadly, we don't have time to coddle you. We've got things to do. Where's Astrea? Where are the others? Instead of answering, the angel asked a question in return. Can you walk? She nodded, uncertainly. Then let's go. At first, the memories came back in flashes. Then they crashed down on her like a wave. Her head spun again. She had to grab a tree to keep from falling. Have they come back? Not yet. But they will. Somnus suddenly stopped and turned around. He spoke with a barely veiled impatience. They have no choice. Audrey lowered her gaze. She didn't quite understand his mood. His voice softened. Did you give the book away? Yes. To whom? Mr. Horn, Gilbert Hill, or Herman Hill? Herman Hill, I believe. Somnus blinked in surprise and asked, the head of the order. He promised that he could keep it safe. Somnus pursed his lips. He spoke quietly, while staring into the distance. I hope you knew what you were doing. Somnus is glad you fulfilled your destiny. Your relationship has improved. Done with the questioning, the angel headed for a stone arch. The overgrown path led them to a part of a garden that Audrey had never been to. The trees that had been left untrimmed for far too long and were bent towards the ground. The paths had been swallowed by wild grass. The neglected patch of land looked grim, even more so because of Astria's silhouette. Hunched over and looking miserable, she stood in the middle of the overgrowth, so alone. Her hunted look sent shivers down Audrey's spine. You would think haunted, but hunted look? It's weird. Why is she here? Fury stood beside Astrea like a guard dog. He squinted his eyes and bared his teeth. This is where it started, so this is where it will end. Why are you here? Thomas answered for her. The others will be back soon. I thought they would want to know she's all right. Are you serious? You want to give them a happy reunion? This place is going to turn into a slaughterhouse soon. Audrey waved her arms to get their attention. What's going to end? Isn't it up to the book? Furies ignored all of her questions. Suddenly, he roughly grabbed Astrea's shoulder. He yanked her like a rag doll and forced her to her knees. What are you doing? Get your hands off of her. Her genuine fury amused him and he smiled. Relax, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to reunite the family. Her vague suspicion barely had time to form before Somnus cut in. We can't kill Malik. Obviously, if we destroy his shell, he'll just return to the abyss. So we're sending Astrea to ball with her son. Let them rot on a chain together. Astrea shrank at the mention of the demon's name. I won't go back to him. Yes, you will. I can't open a portal to do him. I've never done it before. He'll open it himself, don't worry. You'll call him and he'll answer your voice. Astrea shook her head. She curled up even tighter, her forehead nearly touching the ground. Don't be so desperate. We'll help you. Just call him the same way you did last time. Like the time those people stoned her. Horrified, Audrey took a cautious step closer to the sorrowful woman. Don't harm her. She's suffered enough. Audrey walked even closer to Astrea as if to shield her from the immortals. Suffered. She should be held accountable, not pitied. Somnus, all of this misery began because we never gave Astrea a chance to carry out your God's will. My God. And who is yours? Somnus slithered away like a snake. He only reacted to words that were taken out of context. It was unclear if he did so intentionally. I mean, if humans had followed Astrea as they were supposed to, Malik wouldn't have been born, and Abaddon wouldn't have escaped the pit. His rebirth is the fault of humans who tortured her, and now you want to repeat their mistakes? Have you considered that your decision may cost far more than of any ordinary mortal? Somnus narrowed his eyes, genuinely pondering her words, but Furious prevented him from coming to the right conclusion. Enough talking. This plan worked once before. We locked up a frenzied monster for centuries. And it'll work again. Audrey pursed her lips and looked to the sky as if hoping to see the Astreans. What kind of plan is that? Asked Somnus. Audrey latched on to the words. She tried to buy time. How did you catch the first time? His pride in his actions loosened his tongue surprisingly quickly. Somnus smiled dreamily. Azrael. The best summoner helped heaven to create a room that you can enter but not leave. Prison with no doors or windows. Not bad, Astreans doesn't deserve this. Of course not, but her beloved men, Baal and Malek, do. Unfortunately, there's no victory without sacrifice. In Azrael's case, that sacrifice was his youngest son. Why shouldn't Astrea follow the boy's example? He willingly sacrificed himself. He took advantage of his father's trust and saved both hell and heaven from a tyrant. Audrey hadn't known this. David's brother is still imprisoned? Of course. Though rumor has it that Azrael strangled him on the first day out of rage. For the first 100 years, he didn't talk to his bones. And out of boredom, he began to speaking to them. David's family history made her feel nauseous. What about his demons? Why doesn't he wish his way out? They're not his. He can only hear their voices. A questionable ability, but talking to them still led him to the throne. Though he gave up everything he had and more for it. Surprised that David is still alive. After all, Azrael offered his siblings as payment. He tore unborn infants from their mother's wombs and used them as currency. That's horrifying. Involuntarily recall David's rare stories about his family. Didn't David's father love his mother? Oh, he loved her madly. His thirst for power stripped him of even that feeling. A loving man wouldn't let his woman take her own life out of grief. When he professed his love to her, he forgot to mention that he would trade their unborn children for power. You should think about that too. Azrael was just a demon, Andre. One who wanted vengeance for the genocide of his home island. One who wanted to sit on the throne and rule. The one clawing his way up to us from below is far worse. He needs rivers of blood. And to rule, he doesn't need the living at all. Her insides twisted, a tight knot. There must be another way. Malek won't come for me. He doesn't need me. He will. Accept this chance to right your wrongs with dignity, Astrea. Take your child and return underground. Steel flashed in Furious's hand, just as Audrey reached the firstborn. Damn it. Questions spilled out of her unbidden, driven by fear, desperate attempt to stall the executioner. How will you seal the breach if Malek really does go to Ball? Are you strong enough? He'll crush you. Raphael will be here soon, have no doubt. And if not, well, then we'll have to make do with the firstborn's power. You'll sacrifice yourself and your spawn to save your true children, won't you? Omnis's voice dripped with nauseating sweetness. Astrea lifted her head and fixed her blind eyes on him. I'd rather die than go back. Furious approached, grabbed her hair, and yanked her head back even further. Let her go. Audrey didn't even have time to try and make him let go of Astrea. Fury shot her a heavy, openly threatening look. Step back. Audrey, you know this is pointless. You can't stop us. Be a good girl, step back. Audrey stayed put, but wisely moved her hand away from Furious. They're not actually going to stone her again, are they? It didn't take long to figure out whether or not they would. Audrey had barely finished her thought when Furious drove a thin blade under Astrea's ribs. Blood sprayed faintly across the fabrics of her robes. Furious raised his arm again. Stop. Start calling for ball. I'm assuming this is I have enough. God, don't back down. Audrey spoke firmly, confidently, trying not to look at the blood spilling from Astrea. You know what, you know that Malik wrote her letters again, right? Didn't Mikhail tell you what was in them? Furious sighed wearily, but lowered his hand. If he didn't, then it wasn't important. Audrey forced a mysterious smile. Yes, Somnus was right. The letters only contained Malik's thoughts, but the superiors were already suspicious of the Astreans about everything. They couldn't help but believe that some information had been withheld from them. I don't know why Malik decided to keep this from you. Audrey, don't test our patience. Without backup from her colleagues, she decided not to test the limits of Somnus's patience. Astrea wouldn't give Malik what he wanted. She never let him feel a mother's love. He grew up and lonely, abandoned, robbed of everything. She taught him hatred, and he doesn't love her. He wouldn't go to ball for her, definitely not to save her. Then why hasn't he killed her? Because he wants her to suffer. Look at her. What's left of this immortal? She once carried light, now she can't even see the sun. If you torture her, Malik will only thank you. Instead, you should figure out how to get him to go after her while there's still time. The immortals wavered, and that was enough for now. Why didn't Mikhail tell us? He wanted you to spare Astrea's life. And I agree with him. She doesn't deserve to be punished, let alone executed. Even if Malik wants Astrea dead, he'll have to go to ball to finish her, not to save her. It doesn't change anything. You managed to stall Furious, this will affect the plot. Interesting. The immortal faltered, several figures sliced through the sky above and approached the ground rapidly. Audrey recognized them the moment she saw them. Thank God. The Astreans landed nearby, kicking up a cloud of dust. About time. Audrey didn't even notice that David had gotten so close. In an instant, she was breathless in his firm and hungry embrace. The demon didn't say a word, but he didn't need to. His arms said enough. Audrey pressed closer. She could feel how much he needed her, and how much she needed him. Somnus interrupted the touching reunion with a single sentence. I was starting to think that you had fled into the pit on purpose, just to avoid the battle. Mikhail noticed Astrea, and his expression changed immediately. What's going on here? Does it look like we're recreating history? Astrea stayed silent. She hugged herself tighter with her frail arms. Her blind eyes rolled wildly in their sockets, alert. That was never part of the plan. Now it is. We'll torment her until Ball and Abaddon hear her voice. No. For several seconds, the garden was filled with a ringing silence. Furious spoke in disbelief. This isn't a suggestion, it's an order. And we're not stooping to that level. David was the one who diffused the heated atmosphere. He stepped in front of the Archangel and spoke in a deliberately casual manner. Seriously, Somnus? Was torturing Astrea the only thing you could think of up there in heaven? Was your a promised backup squad? Where's the army? No one's coming. Very interesting, don't you think? We're on our own. No one was surprised. Seriously? Then what good are you? Somnus swallowed the insult, but his face showed how deeply it had affected him. Focus on the upcoming battle. Mikhail glanced at Audrey. It's not safe here. Why did you bring her? She was curious to see what the reason Somnus would come up with for keeping her there, but he unexpectedly agreed. Of course. No one expects her to fight. Oh, really? I'll stay. To distract us during the fight? Somnus grinned crookedly, and then he looked at everyone in a way that was far too friendly. Well then, now that you're all reunited, you can get to work to clear your consciences. The Immortals will stay with the Immortals. As for you, Audrey, run. Save yourself. But we can't give you all your friends to keep you company. We need them here. Astrea tried to stand up, but Furious pushed her back down to the ground. It would be nice to get this asshole away from her. But Audrey didn't dare to voice such a suggestion. Instead, she pleaded with her colleagues. Please don't let them torture Astrea anymore. She already suffered enough. They won't hurt her again. No more torture, I promise. Astrea shuddered. She turned her head as if searching for someone with her unseeing eyes. You're too kind for this world, child. It will devour you like it devoured me. Here, they only understand strength. The soul doesn't matter. They'll never value you properly. They only believe the whip. Run. From here, don't look back. From this point forward, there will be nothing but death. Astrea, now's not the time to think about her. You should be thinking about yourself. I sense Immortals. This quiet remark made everyone look up. Audrey peered into the stormy sky, but couldn't see any figures in it. But judging by the tense faces of the others, it was clear the danger was indeed approaching. Did heaven change their mind? Somnus fell silent, confused. Even Furious's expression shifted suddenly. I doubt it. They're not angels. Barely visible black dots appeared in the sky. They were growing at an alarming rate. We need to hurry. All eyes turned to the human. Audrey, you're out of time. But while you run, you can try praying. I will. David's hands gently settled on her waist. I'll carry you somewhere safe. A wave of safety washed over her. The warmth coming from the demon almost distracted her, though Fury still managed to bring everyone back to reality. You're not going alone. Is he afraid that David won't come back? Yeah, I don't think time's, really of essence. Dozens of black and blood-red wings cut through the gray sky. If anyone still had hope that heaven would come to their aid, it vanished in an instant. The uninvited guests were already forming combat ranks mid-flight, arms extended. Some descended with swords drawn. Their hostile moods spoke louder than words. There was no time left for talk. Who are they? How does Malik have so many immortal followers? And where is Malik himself? Her colleagues pushed her behind them and faced the incoming danger. Somnus stood beside Astrea. His eyes glowed white, the air around them trembled. The familiar vibration in the air led Audrey to a grim conclusion. This time Somnus didn't shield me with a dome. For some reason, the Immortals didn't rush forward. Instead, they scrutinized the visitors tensely. They don't know who they are. The first to land was a gaunt demon. He was elongated like an insect. He scanned everyone with a predatory gaze and rasped. Where is that spawn hiding? His gaze lingered on David, and his thin lips curled into a wicked grin.
So it's true, or a lie?
David immediately released her hand. He stepped forward and shielded her with his body. His voice was quiet but firm as he addressed Furious. Get her out of here. Whoever you are, leave now or die. We serve heaven. Aim your weapons at us and you aim them at the Citadel. The demon let out a ragged, grunting laugh. A dozen of his kin landed heavily behind him.
Heaven stole Astrea's descendant from us. The freak who hears voices just like his father. Either you kill him, or we will.
Audrey stared at David in horror, but he remained calm. Did I ever harm you, friend? The demon spat on the ground, raised his sword slightly, and adopted a fighting stance.
You will if you don't die. Surrender to us. Don't make us ruin your friends' faces.
He doesn't use the power of Gotia demons. You came for nothing.
You sure about that? I heard he's already used it once. And once means twice. Then we'll be burying more loved ones. No. We're only leaving with his head.
In a daze, Audrey whispered to Furious. Who are they? Let's just use the commonsensical thing. It doesn't say, until the last one, but let's see, who are they? Well, the immortals who lived during Azrael's reign. Why do they want David? They want to end Azrael's bloodline and finish Gotia. These are very short and simple answers. Someone must have leaked the news that David is free. When Azrael fell, heaven promised that hell would never see his child again. We have to help David. We? They have this handle. They can handle this bunch of idiots without us, don't worry. You, on the other hand, could be taken out by a flying twig. How absurd. You'll die, if not by our hands, then by Abaddon's. The demon wasn't cowed by Somnus's bored tone.
They say that Azrael's lapdog is with you too. Care to tell me where that bitch is?
Audrey felt his hate-filled gaze and instinctively backed away.
You're not her, are you? Too cute a face. They say she had the face of a bitch.
I'm assuming they mean fell. Him talking to her was the last straw. The immortals pushed off the ground lightly and soared into the sky. Audrey caught a glimpse of them clashing in midair before Furious gripped her forearm roughly. She hurried to follow him. But before she vanished into the garden's greenery, she looked back and found the demon's figure. David had become the prime target of their invading mortals. They lunged at him frantically. His red wings beat so quickly that they were imperceptible. Steel flashed in his hands. Nice. He fought them playfully as if they were engaged in a frenzied dance. David laughed as he left a blood streak across the demon's face. Cheerful, defiant, and somehow that laugh calmed her. Move it. Your demon won't die. Audrey hurried along, but as she left, she whispered, her voice barely audible, be careful. Yeah, now's the perfect time for a civil war when literally and figuratively everything is about to begin. But Furious walked forward with long strides. Audrey, who had been long freed from his grasp, could barely keep up. The garden was eerily quiet, the silence was unsettling. Her already tense nerves were strung tight. Let's hope there are no surprises. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the Astreans they had left behind. They'll manage, they always have. The garden's long, twisted shadows teased her imagination, but she had no time for these games. Reluctantly, Audrey remained alert, observant, and aware. The Malik comes to the front. Can Furious stop him? Shadows grew thicker, their long, warped shapes twisted in an oppressive silence. Audrey froze. The shadows froze in return. Their torsos stretched and their limbs grew from the inky blackness. Audrey stepped back. Run after Furious, run back, freeze. I mean, I would assume we stay with Furious. Versus run back into the unknown, and freeze is never a good option, right? Fight or flight, right? But after Furious, Immortal's figure had not yet vanished into the garden. She dashed after him. After that moment, the shadows turned their heads. Oh god, it's the chef guy. Milano? I'm so hungry, Audrey. Feed me, let me taste your flesh. Just one little bite. Delicious. Damn it, path of high reputation. She was only briefly gripped by fear before reason won out. It silenced the hysteria and told her that the shadows weren't moving. Words were just words. Where are they advancing? Audrey clenched her fists and shouted, "Get out! Go back to your pit!" Furious turned at the sound of her shout. The shadows scattered under his gaze. The Immortal returned to her with a scowl. Why aren't you moving? Audrey blinked, but the shadows stayed shadows, as if mocking her. It was just me. Audrey shook her head and looked up at the Immortal. It's fine. We can continue. But Furious didn't budge. For a moment, she thought she saw something. He saw something too, but was only staring at her. The irritation vanished from his eyes. He was suddenly calm. And from him, that unusual emotion was terrifying. Hey, Furious, are you alright? The Immortal slowly stepped towards her, causing her to back away. You know, Audrey, I've always been surprised by the way you speak to me. You understand who I am and who you are? Audrey raised an eyebrow, but wisely remained silent. Maybe you managed to charm those idiots, but you didn't charm me. I had to chew through every word you said and force it down like poison. But the most disgusting thing is that because of you, I almost lost faith in Somnus. The way he spoke, or sometimes spoke of you, as if you were our equal, as if he truly believed it. The way he got attached to you like a cute little pet was so revolting that I wanted to strangle you both. Furious's monologue had gone in the wrong direction, and she didn't like it at all. I don't think now is the time to figure things out. There may never be another chat. A frantic thought sparked in her mind. Will the Astrians hear me if I scream? Furious smiled. We're just talking, Audrey. Do you want me to lead you out? Scrambling to assess how dangerous this situation really was, she ignored the question at first. Furious repeated it louder as bark made her flinch. Do you? Audrey nodded and swallowed a thick rush of saliva. Excellent. I just want you to understand where you belong. Beneath our feet. I want you on your knees, begging forgiveness for every word you dared to speak to me. For every disrespectful thought you ever had about me. Well, I'm starting to have disrespectful thoughts now. I didn't before, but I digress. For every insolent look. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her words caught in her throat. Is he really disaffected by having to speak to a human? Furious frowned, and Audrey tried to quiet her thoughts. Beg me to show you mercy. And make it sincere so that I believe it. Otherwise, I'll beat some respect into you. Yeah, I'm not gonna ask for forgiveness. You can go screw yourself. Forgiveness for what? Furious came closer, his eyes gleaming dangerously. I'm only talking to you because you stopped Felonia from killing Somnus. But if you don't start saying the right things, I'll go quiet too. And trust me, you won't like that. Furious was growing angrier with each passing second. His hands clenched into fists and his jaw tightened. Rage built inside of him. It threatened to erupt in an uncontrollable flash. How long has he been harboring this hatred towards me? Look, I don't know what to tell you. It's not my fault that Sheppa brought me into your home, and... Audrey swallowed the end of her sentence along with a slap. It was so hard that everything around her drowned out by a deafening ring. Beg, Audrey. I'm giving you one last chance. I swear to God, you people's priorities are absolute garbage. Hey, let's all have a civil war. Hey, look, let's beat a human. I don't understand you. It's very hard for me to contain my power. Do you understand? Your head might not be able to take the next blow. Most important thought finally reached her through the pain, and it was terrifyingly simple. He could really kill me in a fit of rage. So, Audrey, the wolf, the demon's note, herself, David. The wolf, or David, sorry. I was looking at the wolf as an option. I could really use your help right now. Meanwhile, the battle didn't last too long. The opponents were drunk on their thirst for revenge and acted far too erratically. They all rushed to strike first, each hoping to be the one to put an end to the hated bloodline. Miguel slowly walked across the field, which was littered with corpses. It reminded him of the past, so distant now. Back then, he had fought against Asriel's supporters. Today, he defended his son. He never liked finishing off the wounded. It was the only one thing to snap someone's neck in fair combat. It was quite another to kill someone who was defenseless and begging for mercy. One is still alive. The wounded demon whimpered. He bared his teeth like an animal as he crawled away from Cassiel. To his credit, even though he was bleeding out, he didn't beg for mercy. Oh, you again. What should we do with him? Oh no. Let him return to hell. Maybe it'll strike fear into the others, I don't know. And tell the rest that will happen if they dare to come here again. The order didn't cause any emotion to flicker on Cassiel's face. Grabbed the wounded demon by the scruff and yanked him to his feet in one simple motion. Can you fly? The demon nodded. Then fly. The demon rose into the sky, pressed his hands against the laceration in his abdomen. He sank, then regained altitude and slowly disappeared into the storm clouds. Incredible idiot. Cassiel walked to the edge of the field and approached David. He was leaning against a tree. How are you? There was blood on his fingertips. I'm fine. David forced a smile. The wound was turning black and refusing to heal. It was eating him from within. Cassiel glanced at the Archangel. Should I get Mikkel? David grimaced and shook his head. Just a scratch. It'll heal. He clenched his jaw, pushing away from the tree, and stood up straight. I don't get it. Did they coat their weapons with some kind of poison? Words made Cassiel flinch, but David stubbornly waved him off. Relax, Cass. I'm standing up. I'm fine. Cassiel wanted to argue, but Somnus interrupted them, leaning over Astrea. This is who I have to work with, Astrea. I apologize for the scene. The firstborn was sheltered alongside him under the same dome. She knelt obediently, but she showed no reaction to his words. David called out to Somnus with a bold question. "Where's your little friend?" Somnus clicked his tongue in irritation, didn't bother to reply. David hadn't expected him to. The demon pushed off the ground and took to the sky. "I'll make sure they're all right, then I'll come back. Don't miss me too much." Even Somnus had wanted to argue, but he didn't get the chance. David's figure disappeared among the tall tree tops of the garden. Meanwhile, Audrey had no idea just how much Furious had kept bottled up. He had seemed straightforward and open in expressing his feelings to her. The emotions he truly kept inside shocked her to the core. He despises humans that much? Thinking of Harry made Audrey shudder. Unlike me, he has no one to protect him. What kind of conditions were they keeping him in? Is he even alive? Ask. Audrey tried to speak as softly as possible. She asked timidly, "What happened to Harry? The mortal you sheltered?" For surprise, Furious didn't just answer, he smiled, too. "We hit him in a very deep and faraway place, just like we promised. And he'll be alright?" Furious snorted. He leaned in closer to her. "I don't know, Audrey. We stopped visiting him when we found out that he wasn't the chosen one, but rather just one of many. He manages to escape the basement and break the chains. He might be fine. But you should worry about yourself. Harry loves life too much to give up easily. I'm sure he got out, no matter the cost." Furious was too close and the Astreans were too far away. Audrey had no idea what he would do if she screamed. But she was certain about one thing. It would only take him a moment to break my neck. She tried to imagine that he was a patient. She chose her words carefully. She looked up at him timidly and spoke gently and softly. "I don't want to provoke you or cause you to hurt me. I didn't ask for any of this. I was dragged into it. At first, no one told me who you were or how to act around you. I was wrong, I admit it. I'm sorry." He gripped her cheeks with his fingers, forcing her to be silent. Furious pressed down on her face and pushed her to her knees. "Enough. Arrogant brat. Do you think you can talk to us like we're madmen? I mean, you are." Twigs and stones dug painfully into her knees, but Audrey ignored the pain. Felt like her skull was about to crack open. Her jaw ached as if each tooth was screaming. "You don't want to do this easy way, then we'll do it the hard way." She literally just apologized. I know what some of you are going to say in the comments. I'm just saying. This guy has no rationale, and I think he's one of those people who loves smacking lesser people around. And possibly killing them. Furious pulled back and took a step away, his eyes filled with dangerous white light. What even gave him the nerve to act like this? Why isn't he afraid that the others will destroy him? Does he think that no one will survive the battle with Malik? The thought made her dizzy. And then a sharp, all-consuming pain ripped through her body. It was as if thousands of needles were piercing her muscles. They twisted, crushed with maddening force. Audrey couldn't even scream. It felt like lightning had struck inside of her. Furious smiled. He was genuinely enjoying her suffering. Maybe it really is too late to ask for forgiveness, Audrey. His eyes gleamed wildly, his chest heaved so violently that it made her feel nauseous. His agitated state made it clear that he wasn't going to stop anymore. Furious, please. That's it, shut up, enough. His eyes lit up with a dangerous glow again. Audrey shrank back, but the pain didn't come. You scum. David landed silently behind the immortal, causing him to flinch and turn around. The moment their eyes met, David clamped his hand around his throat. He squeezed with all of his might, forcing Furious to stumble backward. Do you enjoy tormenting the weak? He slammed a blow into Furious's legs. They buckled with a sickening crunch. Before he fell to his knees, Furious fired a surge of power at him. It struck David's wound. The demon hissed, but didn't release his grip. What did he do to you? What did he want you to do, Audrey? Audrey jumped to her feet, but she didn't dare to come any closer. David repeated the question. What did he want, Audrey? She shuddered and swallowed. He wanted... he wanted to... I'm gonna be honest with you. He wanted to kill her, but he also wanted her to beg for forgiveness. Make me beg for his forgiveness. For a moment, David clenched his fingers too tightly as Furious wheezed and went limp. But as soon as David slammed him into the ground at her feet, Furious came to his senses with a ragged gasp. Apologize to her, you bastard! Beg for her forgiveness or I'll burn you, your pale bitch, and your entire island to ashes. When David seized him again, Furious growled and tried to break free, but his throat was only squeezed tighter. He leaned in close and whispered in his ear, If fire doesn't scare you, then I'll think of something else. I'll hang you from hooks, flay Somnus alive right in front of you, and I'll make you eat him piece by piece. Got it? Because I want you to suffer. Furious clenched his jaw and spat out. Sorry. David shoved his face into the ground so hard the grass got stuck between Furious's teeth. Louder! I'm sorry, Audrey. Do you forgive him? She was stunned by everything that was happening. She let out a strained squeak. Yes. David nodded in satisfaction, and then he snapped the immortal's neck and flung his body aside with undisguised disgust. Are you all right? She nodded, then suddenly broke down in tears. She was still shaken from the humiliating scene with Furious. She couldn't process his gruesome death. All of those emotions burst out of her in a salty stream. Sorry, David flew to her and held her tightly. I'm sorry you had to see that. It's my fault. Audrey pressed harder against him. She whispered through her sobs. No, it's fine. He really was a monster. He deserved it. David pulled back gently. It was only then that Audrey noticed the slit in his shirt. God, you're hurt? David waved it off with a smile. It's nothing, just a scratch. Audrey tried to pull his shirt out of his pants, but froze when she saw his blackened skin. Are you dying? David caught her hands in his and gently squeezed them. A mortal silly, one wound won't kill me. He kissed her hands and suddenly scooped her up and took flight. Still smiling, he carried her to the front door of Astrea Detective Agency. He grew serious with equal suddenness, and once he set her down. I know I was a fool for making all those incredible promises to you, but I have to try and fight for this world. After all, it was humans who gave me you. Audrey pressed her lips together. She found herself unable to respond. She wanted to run away with him. She also understood that if Ball won, there would be nowhere left to run. Leave, little witch. The farther you are from here, the calmer I'll be while I'm snapping our enemies' necks. And if you lose? He refused to accept that option. He stepped closer and gently lifted her chin. Just before he kissed her, He whispered against her lips, "I never lose." His kiss was too tender, it was quiet, calm, that it felt like a goodbye. Audrey couldn't hold back her tears. The minty taste turned salty. David pulled away and took to the sky once more, not giving himself a chance to stay. "I love you. Never forget that." He darted towards the garden. The wind picked up her quiet confession. It trailed behind him. "I love you too." The thought of you will help the demon on the battlefield. Somnus was still holding the dome in place. He stood above Astrea, deep in thought. The firstborn whispered meaningless words in the void, but not addressing anyone in particular.
"If this world doesn't need light, then why did Sheppa create me? I haven't saved a single soul, but I've destroyed so many, and they never reached for me. My power only awakens sinful desires in them."
Somnus leaned towards her face. He ignored her lament. He didn't dare to torture her physically in front of Mikhail. Besides, their original plan was slightly different anyway.
Why are you really afraid of Astrea?
The conversation was interrupted by David. He landed nearby. Without turning his head, Somnus asked,
"How are our colleagues doing?"
Everyone, except Somnus, stared at the demon. David's gaze, directed at the superior, brimmed with hatred. David wanted to break his neck, but Mikhail stopped him before he could do something irreversible.
"Is Audrey safe?"
"Yes.
That's what matters."
Puzzled, Somnus turned towards the Archangel's voice and asked,
"Where is Furious?"
"He's escorting her to a secluded spot." Angel nodded and murmured,
At last she accepted our help and chosen to hide from the end of the world. Better late than never."
Somnus opened his mouth and to add something else, but froze. The garden trees rustled. It was suspiciously abrupt, and came from only one direction, as if wind were forming deep within the greenery. Without saying a word, they all realized that there was no time left for talk. Astrea felt Malik's approach. Fear flickered across her ashen face. I don't understand. It goes black screen and then it comes back to the same forest. His army advanced silently. They rose from the ground in ragged ranks. The dead were raised from a common grave. They weren't in a hurry. They were happy to walk among the living again. Their leader walked forward with a smile as though he were meeting old friends. His shadow stretched behind him. Somnus gripped Astrea's shoulder. He was ready to plunge her into her worst nightmare at any moment. The one she had already lived through once before. The present didn't scare the firstborn. He'd realized that as soon as he began to torture her. The enemy wasn't rushing to attack. The immortals didn't provoke him first. When he got close enough, Malik looked down at the corpses at their feet. He whistled and couldn't hold back a snide comment. "Oh my god, what happened here? What are you bickering about now, you higher beings?" His upbeat mood vanished the moment his gaze locked on Astrea. He looked at the firstborn with undisguised sorrow. Then his voice changed. It became softer. "You've aged, Mother. But you haven't lost your light, even if it has grown dim." His words made Astrea grimace in disgust, but Malik wasn't offended. The expression on her face was one that he was most used to. He clicked his tongue and threw up his hands theatrically. "And you've gone blind, too. How long ago? What was the last letter of mine that you read?" Astrea's hoarse voice filled the space.
I never read a single one.
He wasn't surprised. He turned mockingly to his army. Take her. Kill anyone who gets in your way. If she had only read the letters. Audrey heard the trees rustling near the gate. Something was happening in the garden. She could feel it. She couldn't do anything about it. She couldn't help. She hoped that they would all be strong enough to make it out alive. She certainly wasn't planning on going back. She wasn't thinking about going into the garden either. Its greenery suddenly felt unfriendly and frightening. The leaves whispered for her to keep her distance, and she did. She stared into the darkness and wondered what it concealed. It will all end today. At first, she really did want to leave and go far away. It didn't matter where. But her thoughts made her stay. Audrey suddenly decided that no matter how the day ended, she wanted to meet its outcome here. And if this would be a battle of divine forces, she would try to help in the only way a human could. With a prayer and faith in the light. The love for life is stronger than death. She sat down and stared at the charred walls. The house resembled a grave where her hopes and dreams were now buried. She felt like a ghost bound to those ruins. This is all so ridiculous. I get so attached so quickly. Or no, it doesn't feel quickly, shit. Audrey tried to recall the house where she was born and raised. She didn't even know if it was still standing or held any memories of her. Maybe now in the place where she had once prayed every morning. Teenagers so scared each other for fun. Sneaking into the abandoned property, telling creepy tales, drinking alcohol, laughing until their stomachs hurt, loving life. Doing all the things that were never done within those walls. For some reason, she was certain that her father's cult grounds would be abandoned. But that thought didn't evoke any feelings in her. You always demanded too much. At first, Audrey thought she had imagined it. Her father's voice was quiet, sorrowful, but unmistakable. It came from the garden. Tension, love, answers. Look where that got you. Audrey stood up, squared her shoulders, and straightened her back. She stared into the darkness and waited for his gaze to meet hers. Is it really him? Okay, is it really him? Why did you come? Where did you come from? Go away. Where did you come from? I was raised from the grave and don't want to go back. But to leave it completely, I need to send everyone else into it. Audrey froze like a statue. Her eyes scanned the dense wall of greenery, searching for a familiar shape. You always made me wait. Father stepped forward, tired of waiting now, too. Oh, beautiful, wonderful. He took the first step towards her, parting the branches with blackened, skeletal hands. The darkness followed. His face had become a frozen mask. It reflected all the horrors of the pit, his new home. The skin was pulled so taut that his eyeballs bulged outward, as if they were about to fall out of their sockets. Look what become of you. Words made him freeze, but it was impossible to tell from his face that what emotion had stopped him. Do you think your mother is it any better? I'm rotting, but at least I'm not boiling alive in a bubbling cauldron. He fell silent, scrutinized her with a frenzied gaze. Audrey said nothing in return. She had processed the trauma that her father had inflicted on her countless times. She had talked to him over and over again in her mind. She'd had so many things to say, but now there were no words left. No hatred, no need for anything to be asked of or proven. Only things building up inside of her were exhaustion and anger, because even now he'd found a way to show up. and found a way to ruin what might be her last day on Earth. I couldn't love you, knowing that you didn't belong to me. You were the lamb, and you failed even in that role. Audrey had only one thought, no matter what the end may be. She didn't want to face it beside him. She turned away, unable to endure his presence any longer. And at that moment, her heart skipped a beat. A massive crowd of pit dwellers was waiting for her at the gates. So it wasn't Astrea he wanted. It was her. With hungry, burning eyes. Cassiel. Because he already knew how many of the souls of the realm of Abaddon contained. So upon hearing the order, he summoned all of his hounds. I hope you're hungry. The ground beneath his feet rumbled so fiercely that it seemed to want to join the fight too. Cassiel took off first and rushed ahead. His most loyal warriors emerged from the gaping maw of hell after him. Yo. That's badass. I'm not gonna lie. Saving. That's badass. The dead collided with the hounds in a frenzy. It seemed as if they had been waiting for this moment the entire time they were underground. Both sides had one thing in common. A burning sense of hunger had opened their mouths as wide as possible and drove them forward. Chunks of flesh flew in all directions. The dead quickly picked up the wolves' habits. They bit into their backs with their rotten teeth. The beasts howled. Their hunger was now joined by the will to live. Cassiel flew straight into the thick of it. He beheaded enemies, sliced off limbs. He cleared the path for his hounds and led them forward. Somnus. Still sheltered by the dome, Somnus gently cupped Astrea's face in his hands. She closed her eyes. Only for a moment, though. She opened them, terrified. Time has come. The darkness in front of her gave way to something even darker. Her past. The immortal had studied her memories in detail. He now recreated the worst one. Astrea screamed when she found herself among the humans who had betrayed her.
Please stop.
Unmoved by her plea, Somnus hissed. Old Baal and it'll end. Mikhail. The Archangel wasn't surprised when Malik emerged right in front of him. He had been anticipating it and was ready. He raised his sword and stared expectantly at his unarmed opponent. You want to fight, then take a weapon. Malik was delighted by the offer. You don't mind my empty hands when you had the spear? What changed now? Mikhail didn't reply. Malik accepted the offer with a smile. A weapon formed in his hand, woven from the abyssal darkness trailing behind him. You do realize that you can't win, don't you? The light will win. Malik laughed. He tossed the weapon in his hand playfully. You're destroying the light right now. You don't even need it. Do you even understand what you're fighting for? Mikhail stepped closer, preparing to strike. It's not too late, Mikhail. I'm willing to accept all the lost. Malik leaped back and blocked the first blow. Baal is merely hastening the inevitable. Is it worth dying for? The next strike was harder to deflect. Mikhail handled his sword far better than Abaddon ever had. The fight itself is the meaning of life, Malik. Only the dead surrender. I mean, not really, because could you imagine willing yourself? Hi, I'm 105, had 73 heart attacks, but I'm willing myself to keep going. Like, I'm sorry. Oh, the dead don't surrender. You'll find that out for yourself soon. Mikhail nearly split his chest open. He drove him back away from Astrea. Impressed, Malik obediently retreated towards the wolves, which howled and snarled as they tore through his army. David soared into the sky, leaving the waking dead to Cassiel. His wound was aching more and more. He was really starting to regret not having Mikhail treat him. His regeneration was failing, and now it was too late to look for Mikhail and ask. The Archangel swung his sword and pressed against Malik. The latter clearly took some kind of perverse pleasure in what was happening. He felt that Abaddon had more surprises in store. Astrea howled, the darkness spread beneath her feet, but it was too soon to let her son near her. He was supposed to take her to Ball, but Ball was in no hurry to save the firstborn. Or maybe she simply refused to return to him. How much time do we have left? The sky suggested that they didn't have much. The dark gray clouds began to tear open, releasing winged reinforcements. The mortals who had sided with Abaddon spilled out one after the other. David sighed heavily. Counted about a dozen. We can't let them reach Somnus. The angel hovered nearby. Golden light flickered on his fingertips. Save your strength. You'll still have to seal the portal. Raphael nodded and flew off to divide their forces. David clenched his jaw and took on half of the uninvited guests. What could have possibly made them all so enticed by the end of the world? He even saw a pair of white wings among the black and red ones. The angel spotted him and charged. Have you completely lost it up there in heaven? David deflected the blow, but didn't strike back. He genuinely wanted an answer. Do you even know who you came here to fight for? The angel smirked wickedly and hissed. I do, and I'll kill you in the name of the true God. You're a loser. But for whom are you spilling your blood? That scavenger is your new god? Or is it the one that who can't get rid of his chains and is whining for help? I chose my own god. You're not even worthy of being a slave, wretch. David was so distracted by the conversation that he almost didn't notice the enemy sneaking up behind him. Use blades, use power. David moved as quickly as he could. He got behind the annoying angel and pressed a dagger to his throat. I'm your god now, and you'll fight for me. A murky hate clouds the immortal's eyes. He slipped free from the demon's grip, threw himself at his own allies, drawing their attention, allowing David to attack from the other side and slit their throats without any fuss. One by one, the immortals obediently accepted their death. They fell to the ground, where Cassiel's wolves were already waiting. After catching his breath, David looked for Raphael. The angel soared above, he burned the attacking immortals with his light. Distracted, the demon only heard the whistle of an icy spear cutting through the air when it was too late. When he turned, he saw a fireball melting the ice. Do you always stand around gaping in the middle of a battle? David froze and raised his eyebrows in surprise. Fell hurled another fireball at a different immortal, forcing them to retreat. Malik's supporter clearly didn't want to fight two beings at once. What are you doing here? I went to kill Somnus to get revenge for everything he's done. David chuckled quietly but said nothing. Are you going to get in my way? No. Fel smiled back at him. But first, we have to send Astrea to Ball. But that's your task, not mine. The demon would have liked to chat with her some more, but his side flared with pain again. Damn it. Fel noticed the cause of his grimace, and she said bluntly, The wound's going to kill you. And you're as optimistic as ever. Finished off the last enemy, Raphael was about to join the Astreans, but then he heard something and paused. David didn't like this hesitation. Raphael, what do you hear? The answer revealed itself. It came in the form of countless tiny enemies. What in the absolute hell? Another one of Abaddon's endless, insatiable armies had joined the first. Locusts. A black cloud expanded, squirms buzzed, announced the ending, or beginning of the end. David couldn't help but be impressed by their numbers. There were so many locusts that they covered the sky, consumed it, claiming the heavens. Phil was the first to hurl a fireball at them, but though it burned 1,000 took their place. I'd hate to be eaten alive. Raphael unleashed his light. The insects swarmed towards him, blinded by their desire to get closer. Are you out of your damn mind, Raphael? The demon lunged forward. Fel rushed after him. The whole thing felt like an absurd dream. Immortals were used to fighting opponents of equal size and power. Bending off tiny teeth as they tried to bite into flesh was new. Fel's fire was the most effective, but even that wasn't enough. Raphael's merciless scorched them with light, but the creature still latched onto his wings. David felt tiny mouths biting into his skin before they crawled into his open wound. Fel was all ablaze now, fending them off more than attacking. The sky became a living, buzzing organism. Fly to the ground, I'll burn them all! The demons exchanged glances, then they dove down, practically tumbled into the other swarm of enemies. The dead now occupied the entire garden. They greeted the demons just as fiercely as the locusts had. But their jaws were bigger and their hands were much stronger. There were so many of them, and then everyone cast got down, 10 more took its place. Cassiel had almost lost all of his hounds. He walked over corpses that now lay in mounds beneath him. His arms felt like lead, his legs were numb, his wings were bleeding. They continued to hack away at the relentless, endless army of the damned. He pressed forward, he ignored pain, loss, and the possibility of death. For he was a true warrior. Why are you resisting us? They were everywhere. When David fell into their hands, they began to doubt his choice. Now, thin, bony fingers of the dead sank into his wound. David slashed at them like a madman, but even that wasn't enough. The dead were an army that the pit had been hoarding throughout human history. The darkness devoured severed parts, spat out new ones. It was desperate to strip David of his immortality. The fire burning around Fel didn't scare them. Fire burning within them was far hotter, far fiercer. Not even a child? Come with us. Fel gasped for air. She was weakening, but she couldn't die like this. Brilliant white light flashed above them, blinding everyone for a moment. Fel burned all the locusts, but it cost him dearly. He fell to the ground alongside the black ashes of their scorched bodies. Upon seeing this, Mikhail abandoned Malik. He raced towards the angel, clearing a path through the hungry hell dwellers. Malik didn't chase him. His sword dissolved, and he laughed. That's your main lesson for today, immortals. You must reckon with the ants beneath your feet. Otherwise, when there are so many of them that they spill forth, it will be too late. The ants will crush you, not with strength, but with numbers. He appeared beside the shimmering dome and paused to admire the scene before him. Somnus couldn't see anything around him. He was reliving Astrea's worst nightmare with her. Astrea pleaded with Shepard to spare the humans. Malik couldn't help but be moved. Wake up, Mother. Somnus twitched and jumped to his feet when he saw Malik. Won't you join us? The people you love to torture on your little island are waiting for you. His eyes darted frantically as he searched for the immortals. The sight before him rendered him speechless. The Astreans were dying on the battlefield, overwhelmed by the sheer number of their enemies. Unable to fly up, unable to resist so many enemies. Go to them. Leave or resist? I mean, it's Somnus. He would resist, right? Somnus' eyes flared with white light, but Malik didn't let him use his power. With a lazy swipe of his hand, he shattered the dome and allowed the dead to enter the tight circle. Bitter, ravenous, they dragged the immortal away without ceremony. Astrea broke free from her past, but not from the nightmare. She howled louder when she sensed her son. Her blind eyes filled with tears that were black as tar. They rolled back the wrinkled lines of her face, down to the ground. And the grass beneath her feet began to rot. As if poisoning all life, Astrea drained the light from everything around her. And she was losing it herself. Slowly, but inevitably.
You're just as much of a mistake as I am.
The nature around them became strange and distorted. Black roses sprouted around her frail, hunched form. She tried to stand, but she couldn't. Baal had heard her and was pulling her down. Firstborn cried out when he sensed him. She pleaded harder.
Please don't let him take me.
Her first plea struck Malik. He froze. You're asking me? Sobbing, Astrea spoke quietly, brokenly, as if the mere act of asking had drained her completely.
Maybe you were right. To start reaching for the light, humans had to be plunged into darkness.
The darkness tightened its grip on her. Malik suddenly knelt in front of her. Were they really worthy of your light, Astrea? Created in the likeness of who? Winged creatures who hear no one's voices but their own. Their purpose is to become fertilizer for the new world, or one that will begin soon. Don't be afraid. Feel the death of the past and those who ruled it. Astrea felt it all. Pain of the pit dwellers multiplied and filled everything. Her winged kin would barely breathe. They were consumed by that pain, and her heart soaked it up like a sponge, slowly and relentlessly turning back. Audrey. Malik's army advanced, tightening the circle. Soon there would be nowhere left to retreat. Audrey simply froze.
Why are you alive, not us? Why do we hurt so much? Why are we so cold?
Audrey could barely breathe as she listened to the chorus of voices. They whispered, pleaded, wailed. Never once did they fall silent. Their faces twisted into such horrific grimaces that everything around her felt like a nightmare. What did the pit do to them? Some, like her father, still recognizably human. Audrey could make out their genders, ages. They said terrifyingly yet coherent things.
I didn't want this, I didn't. He promised that my son would guide me to a better life, free pain and sorrow. But that life still hasn't come. How do I soothe this pain? Give me something, anything to ease my torment.
Climbed over each other, reaching for her like moths to a flame. Those whose bodies had turned into blackened bones whispered the same.
Alive. I want to live too.
Audrey was surrounded on all sides. She began to suffocate. The hopelessness felt like a cruel joke. She could have simply walked away just minutes ago, but now, what do I do? The situation reminded her of the demon's prophetic speech. The summoning words sprang to mind. Words that were etched clearly in her head as if fate itself was urging her to call on him for help. Looks like I have no choice. Summon him? Don't summon him. You know what? YOLO. Summon him. She mumbled the incantation and then stumbled. Only the name left. Sire? Seer? Yeah. The demon emerged from nowhere, a grey mist spread in front of Audrey. His voice sounded so cheerful as if they were best friends.
Hey, sweetheart. How's it going?
Audrey barely held back a hysterical scream. She felt like the dead around her were a better indication of how things were going than words ever could be. Badly, I wouldn't have called you otherwise. His eyes gleamed bravely.
No, it's not really bad. I've been summoned when things were worse, much worse.
She had no idea how to respond. The demon prompted her.
What do you want?
How do I escape them? He floated up and down, level with her eyes. He swayed as if he were floating on waves, so calm, so happy.
So you want advice? Alright, I'll give it to you. Don't be afraid of them. Don't fight. Relax. Imagine they're just people.
The demon fell silent. That's it? She was unable to believe her ears and nearly burst in tears. Did I ask the question incorrectly somehow? Warnings from her colleagues echoed in her mind. Gonna take my soul for that nonsense, isn't it? Smoky mouth stretched into a grin.
Do you imagine? I'm not going to take anything important, so relax. I'll just ask you to write a fairy tale about me and read it to children.
Puzzled, Audrey asked, a fairy tale?
Yes, mortal. It doesn't sound so hard, does it?
Audrey was angry at herself and at him. She hissed, what if I die right now?
But then we'll have to cancel the deal.
One of the dead grabbed her sleeve but immediately let go. What a waste of time. He didn't wait for thanks, nor did he wait for curses.
Well, take care, Audrey. I won't get in your way.
The demon vanished into thin air as quickly as he had appeared a minute earlier, and in that single minute, the dead had already drawn close to her. You owe him now. My own children killed me. They got tired of living under the same roof as an old man. I wanted a better life for them, but they didn't get the chance to make it happen. They were so close that Audrey could see the sorrow in their eyes. All-consuming, extricating sorrow. The dead groaned, moaned. The more she looked, the clearer their words became. They're just people. They used to be like me. The reaction calmed her. The dead looked at her with an oppressive expectation, and Audrey decided to follow his ridiculous advice. The dead howled over each other, but Audrey tried to hear every voice. She tried to recognize and understand all their pain. They had all been deceived, either by someone or by life itself. They were all lonely and abandoned, even if all their descendants were rotting in the pit with them. They're just miserable creatures like the rest of us. Audrey looked at them not with fear, but with compassion. She looked and genuinely wished to see. And the dead looked into her eyes in return. Half of faith. She didn't know how to comfort them. In this world, there was so little that can bring them peace. Audrey knew only one thing, even in the pit. There was light. Light that they were so desperately reached for. And she decided to be the light for them. Give rest, O Lord, to the souls of thy departed servants. She didn't look at their bodies twisted with death. She didn't look at their faces contorted with horror. She looked into their eyes and saw their immortal souls. My parents, my kin, benefactors, Ethan, Adam, Philip, Rosalie. I recall the names of all the followers that Malik, she knew. And when she had finished her list, heard more names from the crowd. Rosa, Anthony, Richard, Hilda, Edric. She listened, repeated them, listened and repeated them. She prayed for every soul that stood in front of her. Forgive them from all their sins, O Lord, voluntarily and involuntarily. The dead stilled, and when she said the final name, they fell silent. A long forgotten, deeply yearned for peace appeared on their faces. Raphael came to his senses and immediately smelled the scent of oncoming death. There was only one reason he was still alive. Mikhail was pouring all of his strength into protecting him.
Raphael, fly away!
There was madness all around them. It was pure chaos. The Archangel shouted again.
I won't be able to save you. Go!
Raphael soared upward. He took in the garden with stunned eyes. The ground had become a churning sea of human bodies. His loved ones were drowning in it. For the first time, he began to realize how much they meant to him. It was only on the brink of their demise that he saw that he had a family all along. One closer than him than his so-called father. Power flared within him, ignited by fear. He had chosen how to spend what little he had left on an attempt to save the Astreans or on a chance to seal Abaddon. Oh no. Choices that actually matter, maybe. I'm gonna go with Astreans. We make our own destinies. Destinies are not made for us in some, if not most, of things. We can choose yes or no. It's as simple as that. Astreans or destiny? Raphael gathered his remaining strength. Divine light filled him. He wasn't sure that he could burn all the dead. There's too many of them. But he could buy the others enough time to escape. Mikhail was trying to reach David, but froze when he noticed what the angel was doing.
You won't save us, Raphael. You have to seal the portal.
For the first time, Raphael disobeyed. He continued gathering power. He flew higher, trying to grasp the scale of the looming disaster. The sea of bodies was endless. Astrea sat in the center of the chaos of bodies. She was cradled in Malik's arms. She seemed to have lost her mind completely. She clung to the son she hated, begging him for salvation. And just as Raphael was about to release all the light that had been forced inside of him, a sudden silence fell. All the pit dwellers stilled. Their voices quieted. Even Malik raised his head in confusion. Raphael could have sworn that he heard names echoing throughout the garden. The dead spoke them too softly, as if they were speaking not to everyone, but to someone specific. They listened with true reverence to a voice that only they could hear. The exhausted immortals froze, unable to believe their eyes. Death had come so close, but had suddenly let them go. Even Malik paused in surprise. He listened long everyone else. Then he smiled his army's small act of disobedience. No one has prayed for them in so long that it feels like a miracle for them now. In a world where angels are indifferent to humans, any act of faith feels extraordinary. Alec shot the battered psalmist a disgusted look and continued, "And meaningless. Do you immortals still believe in prayer?" None of them answered. They all stood frozen, awaiting death. No one had the strength left to resist Abaddon's army. Alec sighed heavily. He looked at the faces of the soldiers. He spoke to them gently, as if they were children. "Sincere faith still has the power to awaken your souls. How charming. The person who reached you is a mortal whose life was broken by that same faith. Angels came down from heaven to completely mutilate this mortal's fate. And yet, she's the one who remembered faith. Not our heavenly messengers." He looked at Astrea and shook his head in disappointment. "You know, I think you've gotten a very weak, sweet replacement coming up. I'd rather not abandon her the way your father abandoned you." In a way it's beautiful, but in a way it's sad. Instead of ordering the dead to finish off the immortals, he calmly said, "The light won't die with you, Astrea. Don't mourn it. A small part of it still remains here. Humanity has every chance of achieving both salvation and destruction. And it will manage both states perfectly well, with or without us. As for me, this time I choose you. Because if I don't, no one else will." Interesting. He gently cradled Astrea against him and smiled.
Please, Alec.
He didn't say exactly what she was asking for, but he already knew. By admitting her weakness to him, she was asking him to give the world a chance. He only agreed when he saw that there were still humans in this world who deserved that chance. Father won't be pleased. The firstborn trembled. She clutched at her son with weak, shaking fingers, and Malik allowed Ball to take them both. But before he vanished, he spoke, addressing no one in particular. "At least try to preserve the light this time."
Raphael, do it.
Portal opened fully, absorbing both mother and son. Raphael heard the rattle of chains. He felt the hatred and death echoing from beneath the ground. He really couldn't allow this monster to enter the world. He soared higher and released everything that Father had given him. He emptied himself completely, gladly pouring out that part of him.
You must give it all.
And Raphael gave it all. The divine light drained from his limbs like blood. It rushed towards his heart in a fierce torrent, the place where the power originated. The portal resembled an open wound that needed to be cauterized. It hissed, unwilling to be sealed for good, but the angel was resolute in fulfilling its role. He was sick of the power granted to him by Sheppa. He longed to purge it from himself entirely, so that nothing inside of him would remain to remind him of Father. He wanted every fragment that bore his image to vanish, but when almost all the light was gone, he realized that his life was draining away too. Just as Father promised, he was dying along with his destiny. The power burned him from within and finally turned against him. It was the light that had spread across the world on the first day of its creation. It was the light that was created to banish darkness. The pure light of the Creator burned the darkness along with Raphael's flesh. It was so hot that he felt like tearing off his own skin. He screamed. He could feel the power flowing out of him. His blood. It streamed from his eyes. He managed to see that the portal was almost sealed before the fire of that power blinded him. It burned out his eyes. Good. The world he was meant to save was plunged into darkness. And with their leader gone, Malak's army crumbled across the ground, leaving wounded immortals behind. Audrey couldn't believe her eyes. All the dead had vanished. The garden fell silent, calm, as if nothing had ever happened. Did we win? Audrey was afraid to rejoice too soon. She stepped towards the trees. She carefully peered into the shadows cast on the ground, but saw nothing in them. We really did win. The world survived. It didn't collapse or shatter. She decided to ignore all the warnings and go to them. With each step, a particular feeling bloomed inside of her. I wouldn't say distrust, I'd say hope. She was alive and felt that immortals were too. She believed it so sincerely that she couldn't suppress a reassuring thought. Now, we can handle anything. She was so uplifted by hope that she didn't notice how wildly her heart was pounding. She took another step and staggered. Her head spun from everything she had been through. Audrey tried to take a deep breath. For some reason, the air wouldn't come. A sharp pain tightened in her chest. Body convulsed. A warm, thick liquid poured from her mouth. It all happened too fast. The blood that spread before her eyes blurred in her fading consciousness, and a ringing filled her head. She didn't even feel herself fall to the grass. Her body went stiff. The pain vanished, leaving only the animalistic terror. She shut her eyes and tried to calm her pounding heart. What's happening to me? You're dying, Audrey. I poisoned you. Audrey opened her eyes in horror, but the world remained black. You'll come to your senses, but for now, listen. It's over. Malak has been defeated. Raphael sealed him and Astrea away. He crouched down, peered into her terrified eyes. He smiled. God is on our side. He helped us win. Malak's army has stopped. Audrey didn't even try to argue. Her body had betrayed her. Only fear flooded her senses. It denied her the chance to tell Somnus the shocking truth. It wasn't God who had helped them, but an human. But you did well. You could have given in to Malak and helped the beast. Or you could have handed it to the Chosen One and given humanity a chance. You made the right choice. You fulfilled your destiny.
And perhaps, if not for Raphael's prophecy, you would have had a chance to live.
Somnus's expression turned mournful, almost tragic. He spoke softly and sorrowfully.
I'm sorry it had to end like this. If the prophecy had been different, I would not have harmed you. But I can't let you lead us into darkness, do you understand?
Audrey stayed silent. Somnus wasn't expecting an answer. This was his confession, and she was his unwilling priest.
Perhaps we could have been friends in another life, but not in this one. You've played your part. You can die in peace.
After a short pause, he sighed.
I'm sorry that you have to die like this. Maybe it would have been kinder to snap your neck than poison your water. But the Astreans had to know that you were alive. And after Malak's defeat, I might not have found you before they did.
The relationship with Somnus is good. He regrets that it had to end like this. Questionable friendship. Somnus is really sorry it ended like this. Ah, diamonds. Because that makes me feel better. His figure dissolved into darkness. Audrey opened her eyes. She saw the sky above her. It was still gray and stormy. No one was rushing to snatch her from death's grip. And death was already looming over her, its reeking breath throughout her final gasp. Somewhere behind her, Bruno whimpered. No matter how much he nudged his nose against her cold palm, he couldn't make his owner get up. Audrey no longer felt the tears sliding down her cheek. The last thing she felt was a burning sense of injustice as the sky was sliced open by angels. There was a whole army of at least 50 beautiful winged figures. As she watched them descend into the depths of the garden, with weapons in their hands, she suddenly realized something. So, this is heaven's reward for the service. And she stopped clinging to this unfair, ugly life. Audrey hoped that death would bring her freedom. From the past, from the present, from the future. When her heart beat for the last time, she even felt something like joy. So this is the end, she thought. She exhaled all her worries with a final breath. But her peace didn't last long. The salvation of darkness parted. Listen, I think it's raining. If you know that Full Metal Alchemist reference, let me know. Oh, Audrey suddenly realized that everything before this had been a fleeting dream. All the images from the past had become insubstantial ghosts. Had they ever truly existed? Her present was this. Reach for the light, child. Quiet, familiar voice from the past brought her to her senses for a moment. Fear retreated, unable to stand against hope. Audrey lifted her head, and indeed she saw light. It reminded her of the greenery of a dozen greenhouses. Or a cozy, sorry. Hard to read, rain, you know? Of the serene tranquility of a vibrant garden. It reminded her of Astrea and her light. Help me, And she did. Wow, that is beautiful. Death had promised to be restless, but Audrey no longer felt any unrest. There was only emptiness and long-awaited realization that it was finally over. Her arms turned into vines. The stench of decay was replaced with the scent of flowers. The fear dissolved, leaving only emptiness and peace. There was no pain, no more worry. The past crumbled into meaningless dust and was scattered to the wind. The fog of the future cleared. It was no longer held any promises. Only the present remained. Pure, calm, like the mere smooth surface of water. Audrey closed her eyes and melted into that feeling. Her tranquil sleep was endless. Next, your choices. Death will be a liberation. Fel had always known better than to trust angels, but even she hadn't expected such treachery. The moment the Astreans completed their mission, the angels simply decided to get rid of them. Heaven sang them a funeral march. It released those meant to play the final note, the vortex. Bastards. Somnus could barely stand, but the Astreans didn't look any better.
We're not monsters, Fel. None of this would have happened if it weren't for you.
The demon hissed and bared her teeth. If all this is for me, then you've gone a bit overboard. Somnus smiled. He burned with impatience.
No, this is all for you. For all of you. For the Astreans.
Cassiel clenched the hilt of his sword. It was slick with blood. Will you tell us why?
You shouldn't have stuck your nose where it didn't belong, stirred up problems, or listened to Fel. She's always been trouble.
Fel walked over to Cassiel and stood beside him. Flames danced in her hands. They were too weak to win, but strong enough to take a few more lives. The truth is always expensive, Somnus. That's what makes it valuable. Okay, I like that. That was a good saying.
The price of your truth is your lives.
And sometimes it's worth it.
Is that expensive enough?
It's a pity that I didn't kill you when I had the chance. But I'll side with the Astreans again for the chance to gut your scrawny belly. Even if I have to die. Mikhail watched the exchange silently. He saw no point in talking. Everything was clear enough. The secret that Heaven was hiding from them cost more than just their lives. Especially now that their duty had been fulfilled and the agency no longer existed. Mikhail didn't feel betrayed. He was burning with a desire for revenge. He was dead tired. Only moments remaining before the angels landed and the carnage began. The Archangel surveyed the battlefield. He couldn't tell if Raphael was alive. The angel was too far away. He definitely had no eyes. The fact that they hadn't regenerated was a grim sign. David was clearly unconscious, breathing unevenly. There was hardly any distance between them, but Somnus stood in the way. Mikhail could feel the demon's life draining away. He had to act. It was now or never. And the choice was clear. As soon as the cleanup crew touched down, the Archangel made his decision. He chose to save David. The other choices really weren't a choice. Mikhail flew up into the sky and rushed towards David.
Hold them off!
Fel and Cassiel nodded in unison, like in the old days. They both took battle stances and readied themselves. I never thought it would come down to this. I told you from the very beginning. We're plunging back into the battle, Cassiel smiled. I meant us fighting side by side again. This is a nightmare. I just hope I don't die next to you. Meanwhile, Archangel grabbed David so forcefully that he immediately came to. Damn it. The cause of his condition was obvious. He pressed on the darkened wound. He poured all of his strength in the demon, draining himself dry. Call Sire, David. Get us out of here. Without waiting for any answer, Mikhail stood up and drew his sword. He was ready to fly to the other's aid. Name everyone. Audrey, Phil, Cass, Raphael, and us. Have him take us to a snowy valley. Got that? Archangel took off after receiving a faint nod in return. Don't you dare die before you do it. There was no time for thinking the plan over. David immediately whispered, Sire. The demon appeared instantly as if he had been there all along. The first thing he did was chuckle. Are you dying or what? Looked around, enjoying David's misery. Oh, look at your friends. They're practically corpses. The Astrians were surrounded on all sides. The imbalance was painfully obvious, and they were almost out of strength. David grimaced and spoke faster. I want to make a deal. He said nothing. He watched the battle as if mocking David. Hey, are you deaf? Do you think David is really that afraid of these three? Or are the guests coming? I don't know what you're talking about. He turned away from the battle and leaned in closer. Someone's coming, and I'm curious to know if they're after your souls. If you're curious, stay, but first get us to a snowy valley. They're naming everyone who was to be taken. David coughed up blood. Yeah, sure you want Audrey. David resisted the urge to ignore the question. He answered clearly so that Sire damn well understood. Everyone I named. And you know what I'll ask for in return, right? David nodded with effort. He reached out his hand. And Sire offered his in return. I'm gonna tell you, some really beautiful artwork, I'm just gonna say it. The voices he had learned to ignore since childhood flooded his head again. There were too many. Too much hatred, pain, hunger, so intense that it chilled his blood. And it's a deal, David. I'll help you when you help us. The Sire smoke that touched his bloody, trembling fingers. He felt a faint touch of all the demons. I'll do everything I can. We believe in you, kid. 72 voices cried out in joy. So loud that his eardrums nearly burst. And just before the saving haze swept the Astrians away, David saw a silhouette descending from the sky. It was a young woman unlike any of them. And her aura was so bright the hairs on his body stood on end. The newcomer drew all of Samus's attention. He didn't even notice the Astrians vanishing. The sight of her took his breath away and twisted his insides into a tight knot. With a bored expression, the young woman lazily scanned everyone as she hovered above them. And you came from heaven, ma'am? God, what happened? When did you do fashion choices now? Let's not choose heaven now. What? Sorry, continue. What do we have here? Something inside the angel snapped at her voice. He heard a warning in it, but didn't have time to alert the others. The immortals rushed at her. She casually waved her fingers in their direction. "Shoo, you insects!" The heads of his entire army burst like soap bubbles, spraying the ground with blood and brain matter. Somnus stared at her dazedly, unable to utter a single word. He rasped and barely heard his own voice. "Who are you?" Okay, so not God's people. "Plague, your new mistress. There are so many of you. I like it. I flooded the whole square with blood. It was so much fun." Oh, you failed to change the minds of the people in the square. They couldn't avoid death. Too bad you only have a few kids. Don't you like to breed? You save the children in the square, they have a chance to live. Wait, what? Okay. Oh, right, that's right. The parents died. The children, okay. Alright. Ask a question, because why not? What do you want? Her mood shifted at lightning speed. Her smile turned into a snarl. Shut your mouth, you louse. You don't get to ask me questions. Plague approached him slowly. She wrapped her long, graceful fingers around his throat. Oh, you have an interesting power. I could use it. So come on. Let's visit your island. Without loosening her grip, Plague shot into the sky. She carried the immortal as though he were an object. The garden was finally silent. So heaven sent 50 angels to kill the Astreans. But Plague, a person that I'm assuming is on the bad side, decided to kill all 50 angels with this, not even a snap of her fingers. Jesus, by the way. Okay, alright. The Snowy Valley greeted the uninvited guest on its land with unfriendly howls. The cold pierced them to the bone, but it also brought everyone back to their senses. The barely living Astreans lifted their heads. They looked into one another's faces, trying to gauge the extent of their losses. But despite all their wounds, hope, not one, once thought lost, flared in their hearts again. They had been saved. They were together. For a single fleeting moment, that joyful feeling was ignited in all of them. It was instantly snuffed out. Not everyone had been saved. Audrey was dead, along with the living. Sire had transported her long, cold corpse. Snowy Valley sometime later. The Snowy Valley itself was made of quiet sorrow. It howled alongside the broken hearts of the immortals who had walked through its snow. There was no time or space here. There was only grief, scattered like ashes beneath their feet. And they walked forward to bury themselves in the shards of the past forever. They had once believed, loved, hoped. The coffin was the price for all those feelings. They carried it in their arms, its weight pushed them into the ground. It was far too heavy. Inside lay not only the mortal who had trusted them and died, while their feelings rested behind the crystal lid. They kept only a little for themselves. Hatred and pain. The world was in chaos, but it had turned its back on them first. Snowy Valley welcomed its outcast as its own. It sheltered them in its ancient eyes, promising to reserve their grief. They breathed in its frosty air and allowed their wounded hearts to freeze in its tender hands. Their bodies grew sluggish, their movements stiff. No longer needed to go anywhere, though. They were where they belonged. But before becoming a petrified symbol of betrayal and pain, David opened the coffin. His heart burned with an infernal fire, but there were no emotions left. He simply wanted to share one last thing with her. Death. And to never feel anything ever again. Oh, some of us know this feeling all too well. The demon cradled her frozen body against his and stopped breathing. He no longer gave her warmth. Instead, he absorbed her cold. And the valley, a witness to his love, sealed their union in a layer of ice. A sly and grated voice woke them up from many months later. The valley had let him in because he had promised it something as well. Ice slabs parted, the mournful figures opened their eyes. He didn't waste time on empty words, he got straight to the point. Oh, Abaddon.
Do you want revenge on heaven?
The figures didn't move, but he felt their hatred.
Do you want her back?
They didn't need to answer. He knew exactly what they wanted. He knew what everyone in this world wanted.
I'll show you the true God. Heal, and I'll bring you all back to life. And the ground beneath your feet will burn with righteous fire.
His words stirred them and reminded them of the past. The immortals had harbored a desire for vengeance for so long. They knelt. Abaddon hissed as he sealed their pact with a brand.
Our tree will rise. Heaven will fall. And you will bear flaming swords in the name of Shepamalum.
To be continued. Wow. The Romance Club team congratulates you on finishing the story. Development team. Project lead, I guess there's all their information. I personally would like to thank each and every person who worked on the story. It was very beautiful. And Romance Club, thank you. It was very beautiful. I believe, if we're not mistaken, this is actually the first Romance Club book that we have ever actually finished from start to end. I know that my PC issues were literally and figuratively something that got in the way. But as I recall, this didn't come out till September. So, we're only a little bit behind if I'm not mistaken. Listen, I already gave you guys a lot of diamonds through this, no offense, but, I'm just saying, for vengeance upon heaven, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. Yeah. Alright, so I'm not interested. Sorry. I mean, I got plenty of other stories. I love you guys. I always make sure to watch as many things as possible, and it looks like we've got a secret ending here. Oh ho ho ho. Yeah. Alright, let's go. A few days after the battle with Ball, the prisoner heard footsteps and rushed to the bars. She gripped them with her fingers and peered at the approaching figures. Hey, you bastards, let me out of here. The figure passed by. They cast emotionless glances at her. Oh, hello, Fel. The male demon's voice seemed vaguely familiar to her. For a moment she froze, and then she began pounding on the bars again. You! You're his spawn. You've got the same empty look. Let me out. Let me out. Screams echoed down the hallway, but the demons didn't even turn around. Today, they hadn't come for her. The story doesn't end here. You continue following the character's fates in the sequel of Heaven's Secret 3, Eternity's End. Yeah. Okay, so to be continued is Heaven's Secret 3. Okay. Let me be honest with you. One, you could have made this into chapter or episode 12. Just saying. You guys, woo! Over 2 hours. Congratulations. You have literally and figuratively made the longest episode / chapter I've ever had to cover and voice act in my entire life. So congratulations. Just saying. So 5 stars all around. Complete episode. I don't think stats matter, do they? But we did gain 2 faith and 100 diamonds. 100. That'll go towards basically what I'm going to announce next. Is we will be starting up Heaven's Secret here. Congratulations on finishing. You can thank you for playing to the end. We hope you'll enjoy our other stories and play again different. Yeah. So I don't want different endings. That to me, unless you can save Audrey, you can save. I'm assuming because the coffin, right? I'm assuming David, or not David. Sorry, Raphael lived because you could see his feet and legs on the other side of the coffin, right? So we saw all 5 of them, including Fel and Bruno, right? So all 5 of them were alive and well. The only person that died was our MC, right? Our main character, which was the only person that died. I will say this. Wow, first and foremost, if you did enjoy, right? I know it was quite long, but please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Right? There's no way I could have made it shorter, I'm just saying. So I gotta say, that story was just it's been a journey with Astreas, right? We've never done Heaven's Secret. So to me it felt like Astreas was like a side branch of what we'll be checking out soon. So Heaven's Secret. I look forward to jumping into that. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, right? And again, if you did enjoy, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It's a great way. And also, did you know that you now can hype up videos? For 7 days after their release, you can actually hype up videos. And it's a great way of helping channels like ours get discovered for small creators, right? Sorry, to all the big creators out there in the world. Some of us still gotta, get discovered. So, I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. And, still trying to make it, right? Aside from that, hopefully you did enjoy the voices that I do, the reading that I do. Let me know if you did or didn't, whatnot. Aside from that, I gotta say that the end right there, that last episode, man, brought the emotions out. Definitely gotta say sad emotions. Curious emotions, especially about Plague and what's gonna happen to Somnus and all this other stuff. But like really sad emotions, right? For me, first and foremost, the guy deserved what David gave to him. I'm just gonna say it. Most people who literally and figuratively have to prey on weaker people, right? Because they are stronger, clearly, both, whatever, intellectually, physically, whatever ways. You should never prey on other people. You should be helping people, uplifting them, right? I don't care if you can lift 600 pounds, you should never put down a person who can't, right? And that goes beyond physical, but I was giving you an example. Literally and figuratively. It's just how people should be, right? This world has the potential for being good to one another, but it seems like a lot of people just like to be not good towards one another. And remember that, literally and figuratively, your kindness can be the difference between someone giving up. And so far, over 700,000 men this past year. It is a record versus last year. And every single year has been getting bigger and bigger numbers of men. Let alone other people, but mainly the majority is men. But a lot of people have given up this year. And I want you all to think about that for a minute. I want to use my just platform and whatnot to convey that. being kind to one another, holding your tongue sometimes, even, when someone, like, says something to you or whatnot, holding your tongue or whatnot, may be the difference between someone having a good day and a bad day, and not a day at all, right? Um, and then always think about this: a true adult, a mature person, walks away instead of, quick to hand. It's always quick to hand, quick to it's always the easy path, right? The hard path is keeping going forward, right? And just walk away sometimes, even when someone aggravates you and when someone agitates you, whatnot. The easiest path is to strike out and lash out. The hardest path is to turn and walk away and not let them bother you. But you are the better person for it, right? So, I had to include some positivity in this because while this, whole entire book, but this last episode was super, super kind of bleak and sad, there was things of kindness and niceness and whatnot in there. Malik's decision, right, for an example, was a perfect example, right? Um, just saying, just saying. Somnus can go screw himself, and I don't think it was. I don't think it was just. I don't. While they want to do an exposition on Sheppa betrayed you and all this other stuff, I think it was Somnus. If you really think about it, Furious and Somnus. Because remember, Furious was going to kill us, and either way, Somnus had poisoned us. So we really had no. I don't think there was really much of a choice for Audrey. I think she was going to be taken out of the picture regardless. In all honesty, and sadness. Because of just, let's put it this way: when Daddy's home, the kids go and do stupid shit, right? Let's be honest, right? And the kids, being the angels, are doing stupid shit. Not all of them, clearly. Raphael's a perfect example. Mikkel's a perfect example. Even the demons, right? They're kids. They're kids. They're literally kids. And so God is, Sheppa is the father. He's no one knows where he went, right? And this has been something that's been throughout, storytelling and whatnot, right? Like even the angels in heaven will not know and everything else. And you may sit there and think, oh well, Locum suddenly is speaking religious. Is he religious? No, I've done a lot of soul searching and whatnot in my life, and I think that God is a father, made all these things possible and did everything, and maybe he's going off to work or did something else or whatnot. I don't know. No one truly knows, right? He's supposed to be the creator of all. So Sheppa is supposed to be God, right? Okay. I'm leaving the supposed teenagers to take care of the children and watch over them. Well, clearly the teenagers are not doing such a great job, right? The babysitters, the angels, versus the bad teenagers, which is the demons, right? And so we as children, like we're children. We're literally and figuratively children, right? So that's all I'm saying is I think Somnus went up to heaven, said a bunch of garbage, did whatnot. I don't think, again, right now the teenagers, right, are just doing stupid stuff. You even saw it, like it made no sense. The Civil War bullshit and demons coming after David and all of us. It makes no sense. They're teenagers. They're dumb. Okay, even teenagers are dumb. So I'm just saying, you're even some adults are dumb too. But that being said, that's what I feel like this is, and in a way, a lot of us, I'm sure, can understand that feeling and understand what I'm saying right now. Or a lot of you can be like, you know what? It has a ring of truth to it, doesn't it? It just sounds like it makes sense. And if anything, it makes you more hopeful because the teenagers, let's be honest, there's been a lot of things in the past. If you even just, you don't have to be religious to read, right? If you look into the story and Bible and Lucifer and all that other stuff, there's teenagers who, even when the parent was there, rebelled, right? So hey, they became the bad boy, they became the bad teen or whatever. Again, you get my point, right? So right now the teenagers are doing stupid shit, and dad's not home, the parent's not home. I wish Daddy would come back so he could bitch slap some of you because there's a lot of people, and then the children need to be dealt with too. There's a lot of bad children right now too. So let's be honest, right? But let's keep everybody in check. Let's also try and be good to one another. This is just my little rant venting at the end because boy, I'll tell you, this was a super long episode, but also a super long book. And I gotta say, Romance Club does it. Romance Club really does it for me, and I really enjoyed it. I haven't felt this way, I'm gonna be honest with you, period, with choices ever. And I think that when it came to choices, just for those of you who go, which do you enjoy more? Romance Club takes it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Romance Club, especially with the animations, the music, the non annoying sounds and whatnot, and things like that. Romance Club really took it. So she is my first ever book completed with you guys. There's been a couple that we've been waiting on, right? That again we're gonna be, continuing. Right, we're almost done with what is it, Kali? Right, almost done with that one, and then is one of the next ones I would like to finish. So all of you going, please hurry up. Again, we're already on the near ending of that, right? So two of these are almost finished. Here we were waiting for the longest time, and this one I don't believe is finished. It still is. You can see they're in development. I think they released one episode. This has been one of the things that has been in the longest running thing, which I wish would just. I don't know what's up with the author, but holy crap, come on now. And then we've got all of these which we were following up with as well. So again, when my PC went out, it caused a lot of issues, and I couldn't be. I couldn't. It takes a lot of time to catch up, and then I'm trying to be a content creator. I take care of two special needs brothers. Like, there's a lot of work that I do outside of being a content creator. So imagine you guys, and I'm sure a lot of you work 8 to 5s and whatnot. And hey, I've been there. I used to work 80 hours a week. So there's, you come home and you're like, man, I don't have time to do this. This has been, cast back and it's on the back burner. Again, I wish there were 4 of me, because that 4 of me is the only way I would be able to catch up right now. I'd catch up in record time, but I need 4 of me, right? Clearly there isn't 4 of me, and I really wish there was. Aside from that, thank you again for watching. I love your beautiful faces. Hopefully you reached the end. Let me know if you did. Catch you all later. Peace out.